You work hard, but the rich keep pulling ahead. Why? Because money doesn't follow fairness. It follows power. This video exposes the hidden laws they use. Watch closely. Miss nothing, because once you hear this, you can't go back to ordinary. You wake up every day and go to work. You give your time, your energy, your effort, and still the money feels small. Bills, debt, and stress never leave. It feels unfair. You try harder, but the results don't change. The more you give, the less you seem to keep. And it makes you wonder if something is broken in the system. Here's the truth most people never want to admit. Money does not reward fairness. Money follows power. Power is not given. Power is taken. That's why the rich keep growing richer while everyone else struggles. They don't wait for someone to reward them. They don't hope for fairness. They move differently. They bend people and systems to their will. And if you don't learn how this game is played, you'll keep working harder but always end up with less. Because effort alone never wins. Strategy wins. Think about it. If wealth was only about intelligence, every genius would be rich. If it was about hard work, every laborer would be free. But look around. That's not how it works. The truth is, wealth is built with tactics. Cold, careful tactics. Not luck, not talent, not even effort. The average person works harder but gains less. Why? Because he believes in rules. He believes in fairness. He believes someone will reward him eventually. But the system was never designed that way. The rich understand something simple. Money is a weapon. In weak hands, it slips away. In strong hands, it multiplies. And the strong know how to keep it. To change your life, you have to break the old way of thinking. Stop waiting. Stop hoping. Stop believing in fairness. You have to start watching. Start noticing how the game is played. Look at the average man. He shows his desperation. He works long hours, saves a little, tries to look responsible, and yet he is trapped. His labor builds someone else's empire. The rich don't follow that path. They don't show desperation. They don't waste energy trying to prove themselves. They let others reveal weakness, and then they strike. This is why most people stay broke. They trust effort. They trust appearances. They trust fairness. And while they wait, others take. If you want to step out of that trap, you need to learn the first law. And once you see it, you'll never see money the same way again. Most people talk too much, beg too much, and prove too much. But the rich stay silent, and that silence bends people. Now, you'll see why silence is a weapon. Silence feels empty to most people. They rush to fill it. They talk to prove themselves. They reveal things without even knowing, and that's where they lose power. In money, in deals, in relationships, silence is pressure. It makes the other side uncomfortable. They start speaking just to kill the quiet, and in their words, they expose weakness. The average person cannot stand silence. He begs. He explains. He keeps talking until he has nothing left to hide. He thinks words create value. In reality, words drain value. The rich understand this. That's why they don't rush. They sit still in meetings where everyone else is scrambling. They let silence squeeze people into mistakes. Think about a negotiation. One man blurts out his price. Another man says nothing. The quiet man wins. Because the one who talks first usually loses. Silence works because people hate it. They feel judged by it. They fear it. And in that fear, they confess things they should have hidden. They lower their price. They reveal their limits. They show desperation. Silence bends people. It turns the room in your favor without you lifting a finger. But here's the problem. Silence alone isn't enough. Because even if you stay quiet, if your emotions are visible, you can still be controlled. The other side will read you anyway. Most people wear their emotions like signs. Fear, greed, insecurity. It's all written on their face. A raised eyebrow, a nervous laugh, a quick reaction. And just like that, they're predictable. The rich avoid this trap. They train themselves to be unreadable. No tells, no signals, no emotion that can be used against them. If this makes sense so far, subscribe now. Drop a comment if you've seen this play out in real life, and share this video with someone who needs it. An unreadable man is dangerous. He cannot be predicted. If he cannot be predicted, he cannot be controlled. That's why predators win. When you remove emotion, you become a ghost in the game. No one knows your next move. They guess, they project, but they're always wrong. And while they react, you wait. This is what sets the rich apart. The average person spends his energy reacting to the world. The rich spend their energy observing it, and observation always beats reaction. But silence and unreadability are only the beginning. They stop you from being prey. They don't yet make you a predator. To rise higher, you need another law, one that explains why the rich seem slow but always strike at the perfect moment. It's not luck, it's not talent, it's patience. The weak chase trends and rush into traps, but predators wait, hidden in the grass, until fear controls the herd. Now, you'll learn why patience builds empires. Most people are impatient. They chase quick wins. They gamble on hype. They rush into things because they fear being left behind. And in that rush, they lose everything. The wealthy move differently. They wait. They observe. They don't spend energy on every little move. They act only when the timing is perfect, and that patience turns into power. Think of a lion. It doesn't run after every animal it sees. It stays low in the grass. It waits until fear shakes the herd. Then it strikes. Clean, precise, certain. That's how the rich play the money game. They buy when others panic. They expand when others retreat. They hold firm when others are selling in fear. This is why they keep winning, not because they are smarter, but because they can wait longer. They don't need to act fast. They act right. The average man cannot do this. He wants comfort. He wants action. He wants the rush of doing something. So he chases every trend. He throws his money into whatever is loudest, and he loses. The rich don't chase. They let everyone else make mistakes first. Then they move when the opportunity is ripe. Patience is a weapon, but patience requires discipline, and discipline is rare. That's why most people stay broke. They want the dopamine hit of spending now instead of the slow satisfaction of control. The few who master patience rise to the top. They stop throwing away money on impulse. They stop chasing noise. They start capturing opportunities others can't even see. Think about every crash in history. Ordinary people panicked and sold everything. The rich waited, then bought cheap. Years later, everyone says, they were lucky, but it wasn't luck, it was patience. This law applies to more than money. It applies to power, influence, and even people. The one who waits sees more. The one who rushes sees nothing. But there's a darker truth here. Patience is not passive. It's not sitting around. It's watching, studying, and being ready. The weak confuse waiting with inaction. The rich know patience is calculated timing. Every time you rush, you bleed power. Every time you hesitate, you lose advantage. But every time you wait with purpose, you grow stronger. You see more. And when you strike, no one can stop you. This is the difference between prey and predator. Prey runs at every sound. Predator waits until the outcome is already decided. And once you master this, you'll start to see how empires are built. Not by rushing into everything, but by holding back until the perfect moment. Patience alone won't make you rich. You also need leverage, the ability to use other people's time, energy, and resources. Now you'll see why leverage is the real multiplier. Most people believe wealth comes from effort. They think if they just work harder, they'll rise. But hard work alone has a ceiling. Effort without leverage traps you. Look at a job. You spend hours, you get a wage. The more you work, the more tired you become. But your income grows only a little. You're trading time for money, and time doesn't multiply. Now look at the rich. They don't trade hours. They build systems. They position themselves so that other people's work flows into their hands. That's leverage. One landlord rents out 10 houses. 10 families work every month just to pay him. He doesn't need to sweat for that money. He just holds the position. One investor owns shares in a company. Thousands of employees create value every day. A slice of that value flows to the investor automatically. He doesn't clock in. He doesn't chase overtime. That's leverage. You stop being the worker. You start being the one who benefits from the work of others. It sounds unfair, but that's the point. The system is built on leverage. If you don't learn it, you will always feed someone else's wealth. The average man sells hours. The rich sell systems. That's why the rich grow richer even when they seem to be doing less. Their effort is multiplied through others. Leverage can take many forms. Money itself is leverage. People put their savings in banks. The bank lends it out for profit. The saver gets scraps. The bank gets rich. Technology is leverage. One person writes code once. Millions use it. That single effort creates endless returns. Compare that to the man who works 8 hours a day for one paycheck. Pause here. Subscribe if you haven't. Comment what part you agree with or disagree with. And share this video. Someone else should hear this too. Information is leverage, a secret, a connection, a strategy. When used right, bends whole markets. And the man holding that advantage grows while others struggle. Here's the truth. Wealth flows upward through leverage. It is not evenly earned. It is extracted. And if you don't control a point of leverage, you're the one being drained. That's why most people feel tired but stuck. They're running on a treadmill that feeds someone else. Until they step off and create leverage, nothing changes. But leverage is not enough. Because people are fickle, they change their minds, their loyalty, their attention. If you don't hold them, they slip away. That's why the next law matters. It explains why money doesn't follow the hardest worker or even the smartest investor. Money follows belief, and belief is shaped by story. Wealth doesn't flow to effort, it flows to narrative. People follow stories, not logic. Now you'll see why the rich use narrative to control money itself. Money doesn't follow logic, it follows story. People like to think they make rational choices, but most choices come from belief, and belief is shaped by the narrative they accept. Look around. Religions build empires, brands become cults, politicians raise millions with words alone. Why? Because they shape a story that people believe. Once people accept a story, they give money, loyalty, and energy. This is the law of narrative. Wealth doesn't flow to the best product or the hardest worker. It flows to the best story. Take a diamond, it's just a rock. But because people believe it means love, status, and value, it sells for fortunes. The story matters more than the stone. Take a luxury brand. The fabric may not be better than cheaper clothes, but the narrative of status makes people line up and overpay. They don't buy the object. They buy the meaning. The average person ignores this. He thinks truth drives the world. He thinks fairness wins. He thinks the best idea should rise on its own. But look around. Loud lies, repeated often, become reality. Carefully crafted appearances become truth. The rich understand this. They don't waste time trying to prove truth. They shape appearances. They craft stories. And the masses follow. This isn't about lying. It's about control. If you don't shape the story, you live inside someone else's version of reality. And in their story, you are just a character who pays. Narrative is leverage. It multiplies influence. It turns ordinary things into valuable things. It creates gravity around the storyteller. People gather, spend, and obey without questioning. Think about social media. Billions spend hours scrolling. They give their attention to whoever controls the story of the moment. And attention becomes money. The one who holds narrative holds wealth. But narrative alone isn't stable. People can be persuaded, but they can also forget. Belief is changeable. That's why the story must be repeated, reinforced, and wrapped in appearances. The rich don't just tell stories. They build environments that keep those stories alive. Ads, images, products, lifestyles, all feeding the same message until people cannot separate story from truth. And here's the key. Narrative doesn't have to be real. It only has to be believed. Once people believe, they act. And when they act, money flows. The average man resists this. He says, I won't play with illusion. I'll just stay honest. And that is why he stays broke. Because money doesn't reward honesty. It rewards control of appearances. The rich obey a simple principle. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few know what you really are. Appearances are power. Narrative is currency. The one who shapes it shapes wealth. Narrative creates belief, but belief alone doesn't multiply. To grow wealth fast, you need substitution, trading ideas for labor, perception for value. Most people trade their own labor for money. They dig, they lift, they type, they grind, They think the harder they work, the more they'll earn. But that's a trap. Hard work without substitution is slavery to time. You only have so many hours. You can't stretch them. You can't multiply them. Once your body stops, your income stops. The rich substitute differently. They trade ideas for labor. They trade perception for value. They trade influence for action. Instead of doing everything themselves, they put others, systems, or beliefs to work for them. Picture two men. One digs a ditch for 8 hours. He earns a wage. Another organizes 10 men to dig 10 ditches. He earns 10 times more without lifting a shovel. Who is smarter? This is substitution. It's the ability to replace your effort with someone else's energy, someone else's time, or even someone else's belief. Think about business owners. They don't make the product with their own hands. Workers do that, but the owner substitutes labor for control. He earns far more than the people who do the actual work. Think about investors. They don't build companies brick by brick. They supply capital once. Then others labor for years to grow that value. The investor substitutes money for time, and the returns never stop. Take a second, subscribe if this is opening your eyes, comment your own thoughts, and share this video so more people can see what really drives wealth. Even attention can be substituted. Millions waste hours scrolling. A smart creator captures a fraction of that attention and turns it into income. He substitutes distraction for cash flow. The average man never thinks about substitution. He thinks about earning. He sells hours. He sells labor. He sells the only thing he cannot multiply, time. The rich refuse to do this. They know hard work is limited, so they shift into trades that multiply. They use other people's hours, other people's energy, and other people's loyalty. Niccolò Machiavelli warned rulers never to rely only on their own arms. Use others whenever possible. Wealth follows the same rule. If you only rely on yourself, you stay weak. But substitution doesn't mean laziness. It means strategy. It means finding where you can trade something less for something more. It means making moves that free you from limits. Once you learn this, you stop asking, how can I work harder? Instead, you start asking, what can I replace with something greater? That's how you grow. Still, substitution isn't enough on its own. You can trade labor for ideas, time for perception, effort for influence. But if people don't see value, nothing happens. That's where illusion comes in. People don't buy reality. They buy what they believe reality is. And illusion is the strongest currency of all. Substitution frees you from hours, but illusion multiplies value from nothing. Now you'll see how illusion turns rocks into diamonds, fabric into luxury, and paper into power. Illusion is one of the strongest forces in money. People don't buy what something is. They buy what they believe it is. Belief shapes value more than reality ever does. Think about diamonds. At the core, they are rocks. But because people believe they mean love, status, and forever, they pay fortunes. The story around the rock makes it valuable. Think about luxury brands. The fabric isn't magic. Often it's similar to cheaper clothes, but the illusion of status, style, and exclusivity makes people line up and overpay. They don't buy fabric, they buy an image. Even money itself is an illusion. A piece of paper, worthless on its own, becomes powerful because nations, banks, and people agree it represents value. Without that belief, it's nothing. This is the law of illusion. The rich don't just sell reality, they sell meaning. They wrap simple things in powerful appearances, and people give money willingly because they want the story that comes with it. The average man resists this. He says, "I'll be honest, I won't play with illusions." And that's why he stays broke, because the world does not reward truth alone. It rewards mastery of appearances. Think about courses. Some men sell get-rich guides without ever being rich themselves, yet they profit. Why? They sell the illusion of transformation, and people buy hope, not proof. Illusion creates demand where none existed. It multiplies value from nothing. It shapes desire that logic cannot kill. Once desire is shaped, money follows. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this. He wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few know what you really are. Appearance is power. Reality is hidden." The rich obey this law. They don't fight to prove what is real. They fight to control what people see. And once the image is believed, the truth doesn't matter. But illusion can be dangerous if you don't control it, because illusions can collapse when exposed. That's why the wealthy don't rely only on illusion. They pair it with discipline, patience, and narrative to hold it strong. Still, the lesson is simple. If you only sell reality, you will always earn scraps. If you sell illusion, you can command fortunes. And this doesn't mean cruelty. It doesn't mean lies. It means shaping perception. It means crafting appearances. It means understanding that people act on belief, not on truth. This is why illusion is one of the strongest currencies. It turns weak value into strong demand. It transforms simple into powerful. And the man who commands illusion commands wealth. But there is one more law, one most people avoid because the word sounds harsh. Yet it's the sharpest weapon of all: exploitation. Illusion creates value, but exploitation captures it. Now you'll learn why the rich see fear, waste, and weakness as opportunities, and how they turn them into wealth. Exploitation sounds cruel. People hear the word and think of abuse or injustice. But in its core form, exploitation means seeing unused value and taking it before someone else does. The rich do this naturally. They look for gaps, for waste, for weakness. Where others see loss, they see opportunity. Where others panic, they act. Think about markets. When fear spreads, the average person sells cheap. They try to escape. The predator buys, knowing fear has lowered the price. When stability returns, wealth has already shifted hands. Think about attention. Billions waste hours scrolling. The predator doesn't waste. He captures that attention, sells products, builds brands, and converts distraction into income. That is exploitation of wasted time. Exploitation is not evil, it is realism. If you don't exploit, someone else will exploit you. The weak see waste, the strong see profit. That is why wealth concentrates. But even exploitation has limits. If you expose too much, you lose power. That's where the law of withholding comes in. The weak overshare. They give everything up front. They tell people their price, their limits, their fears. They think openness builds trust, but exposure creates weakness. The rich reveal only what serves them. They feed partial truths. They share just enough to spark desire or dependence, but never enough to be predictable. In negotiation, the average man blurts out his bottom line. The predator waits. He withholds. He watches the other side sweat, reveal themselves, lower their own demands. And then he strikes. Withholding builds mystique. Mystique builds power. Power builds wealth. That is why the richest men often seem distant, silent, or mysterious. They aren't hiding out of fear. They're hiding out of strength. Now tie it all together. Silence bends people. Unreadability shields you. Patience creates timing. Leverage multiplies effort. Narrative shapes belief. Substitution frees you from limits. Illusion multiplies value. Exploitation captures waste. Withholding protects power. These are not tips. They are weapons. They separate prey from predator. The average person will never master them. They will stay emotional, reactive, chained to hours and illusions. But you don't have to. You can step out of that herd. You can learn to watch instead of react, wait instead of chase, control instead of serve. At that point, you stop being one of them. You stop being prey. You become unreadable, untouchable, unstoppable, a phantom in the world of money. And once you taste that, there is no going back. You've now seen the hidden laws of wealth. Subscribe, comment if you know more, and share this video, because once you cross this line, there is no return.